And welcome back to WDEF News 12. This morning, it's Friday. It's time for How Does Your Garden Grow? If you've got a question concerning your garden, concerning your lawn, feel free to give us a call, 756-1212, as Tim Holcomb is joining us from the Holcomb Garden Center. And again, 756-1212. Before we get to the callers here, just want a friendly reminder here what these little bonus bucks are.
This is the weekend. People have been collecting them all spring. You bring them in this weekend and you can use them like cash towards purchases and save up to 50%.
All right, good deal there. Let's get right to the phone callers here this morning. Tom is our first caller. Good morning to you, Tom.
Yes, we have a dodder growing in our English ivy, and I'd like to know what we might do to, short of cutting it out, what can we spray it with or treat it with to kill it?
Okay, there's really not anything you can spray it to kill it. It starts on the ground and it comes up. Once it gets attached to the plant, it loses its root on the ground and lives off the plant. You can pull it out or dig it out. You want to be sure and put out a preventer next spring so that don't come back from seed, because it does make seed. And so put out a preventer early next spring to prevent it for next year.
Answering your gardening questions right now at 756-1212. Brenda is our next caller. Good morning to you, Brenda.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Every year I grow a garden, a small vegetable garden, and I have squash in my garden. And it seems to me that they're all male flowers. I haven't gotten a squash off of it yet, and my neighbor that lives next door has gotten squash. I don't know why it's not producing. I like it on the grill also, Brian, but I can't seem to have any luck with it. What am I doing wrong?
Well, it's really not anything you can control. It is normal for the first blooms of squash to come out to be mostly male blooms. The female blooms will actually have a small squash on them, and when they're pollinated, it will mature to a full-grown squash. But don't give up yet. The first blooms will be mostly male. The female blooms will come, and once you start getting squash, you should have all you want and all your neighbors want.
Squash and zucchini on the grill. I may have to do that tonight. Jean is our next phone caller. Good morning to you, Jean.
Hello. I was given a couple peach trees. a few years ago, and I assumed they were grown by seeds, but they're not doing anything. There are a little bit of blooms on them. They're about 3 or 4 years old. Am I going to ever get any peaches on them, or do I need to cut them down?
Well, if it's a standard peach and grown from seed, it will be a standard size. Normally it takes 4 to 5 years before they start getting mature enough to bloom and set fruit a lot. So you're just getting in the time when you should be getting the benefits from it. Each year, though, it's kind of dependent on the weather. If we have a late freeze or frost, it may knock the blooms off. But I would certainly give it another year or two, and you should get lots of peaches.
Well, once again, we're answering your gardening questions this morning at 756-1212. We'll even answer your lawn questions, too. Again, 756-1212. We'll get you in contact with Mr. Holcomb here sitting next to me. Pat is our next phone caller. Good morning to you, Pat.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a Better Boy tomato plant that I bought. It had blooms on it when I bought it, and I've had it, maybe 6 weeks. And it just grew like crazy, has tomatoes on it, looked real nice, and all of a sudden, it's not growing any, and it's a pale yellow or pale color. It's not a vivid green. And I have fertilized it, and I don't know what its problem is. It's just like it quit growing.
Is it in a container or is it in the ground?
Yes, it's in a big wash tub.
Okay. Make sure it has good drainage. If it's staying way too wet, you actually get some root rot. As far as fertilizer, use a complete food that has the iron, boron, manganese, and zinc. All those trace elements will make it darker green. It does need to be growing. That's where you're going to get new buds and blooms, and therefore tomatoes. So just make sure it has a good complete food like Plant Tone or one of the organic ones do very well.
Virginia, our next phone caller. Good morning to you, Virginia.
Yes, I'm calling from Cleveland. I have a red peony or peony and a white one. My red one bloomed beautiful this year, but my white one did not have anything.
Okay,
so I'm wondering, and they're like 3 feet from each other, why one did not, and it had buds, but they didn't bloom.
Well, make sure they have plenty of sun. They prefer full sun for lots of blooms. However, when the summer comes in, they need to be a little bit cooler and shade there. So at least half a day's sun to get good blooms. Feed them with super phosphate, which is a 0-45-0 that gives you lots of buds for next year. Feed them this fall and feed them again next spring with that, and you should have lots of blooms.
Kevin joining us on the phone lines. Good morning to you, Kevin.
Yes, well, blueberry bushes grow in whiskey barrels.
Yes, sir, they will. Now, it will limit the size of them because a typical blueberry bush can get 6 to 8 foot tall and 6 to 8 foot wide, but you can keep it pruned and trimmed to a moderate size, and you can grow them. You need at least 2 blueberry bushes to get good pollination, so get you a couple of whiskey barrels and grow your crop of blueberries.
Keep the questions coming. 756-1212 is our phone number. Answering any questions you have concerning your garden or your lawn. 756-1212. Clarence is our next phone caller. Good morning to you, Clarence. Hi, Clarence. Are you there?
Hey, hi. Good morning.
Hi.
How you doing this morning?
Go ahead with your question. We're doing good.
Tim, I got a hollow bush right in the front yard, and it's leaning over toward the ground. What can I do? It ain't never leaned like that before.
Well, apparently the ground has gotten soft, maybe with all the rain we've got. You'll need to stake it up and secure it. Otherwise, it's going to, at least a little wind's going to blow and lean back over. You can also trim it to take some of the weight off of it. And just put a large stake down in the ground and secure it more straight up, and it should grow new roots. Water it with root stimulator, and that'll help stabilize it also.
David is our next phone caller. Good morning to you, David.
Yes, this is David.
Yes, sir.
We put out 2 eastern redbud trees during the spring of last year.
Yes, sir.
And one of the trees has bloomed both years, but the other one hasn't bloomed yet. And I wonder what's going on with it.
Well, they will bloom, and the more mature they get, the more they'll bloom. Feed it with a high middle number superphosphate for lots of blooms next year. Feed it this fall and next spring, but don't give up on it. They're a native tree, and they will bloom very well. There are some hybrid varieties. There's one called forest pansy that has purple leaves as well as purple blooms, but there's also several other varieties that give you even more intense blooms than native ones. So if you plant any more, get one of the new hybrid varieties, and you'll really enjoy that as well.
Michael is our next caller. Good morning to you, Michael. Hello, Michael?
Yes.
Hi, go ahead with the question.
Yes. I have a knockout rose.
Yes, sir.
I have a knockout rose that it's not, and that the blooms on it and the leaves on it, they're like a mildew on it, and has black spots on it, and some of the leaves are turning yellow.
Okay, it sounds like you may be getting a little black spot disease. They're very resistant, however, they're not immune to it. The good part about knockouts, even if they get black spot, they will continue to bloom, where regular roses will just almost shut down. But spray it with a good fungicide, a good rose spray with fungicide, with food. You'll get dark green leaves and lots of blooms.
All right, unfortunately, folks, we are running out of time. We're going to put the information on the screen. It's Holcomb Garden Center. He's got 2 locations, 5513 Highway 153 in Hickson, as well as 2705 Battlefield Parkway in Fort O. The easiest way to get a hold of the Holcomb Garden Center is to look them up on the web at holcombgc.com. Tim, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Brian.
All right, folks, we'll take a short break. There's a lot more to come here on WDEF News 12 this morning, even a possible giveaway.